everyone, and welcome to We Don't Want Movies with me, Monze.
And me, Corinne.
Huzzah!
Yay!
All right, everyone. It's business time.
Business time?
I'm really excited. I took like a brief 5-minute nap before this, so I am both equally rested and exhausted all at once.
I'm so happy for you. Nap is a big deal for you.
I know it's a big deal for me. Also, I'm wearing my new glasses, but you can tell that they're new.
They looked exactly the same.
I know. I told you. For those who are watching the video, you can see these quote-unquote new glasses.
They look shinier.
Yeah, they're just gold-rimmed now.
Oh.
Okay, so today's movie, we are talking about Monkey Man.
Woo.
A movie I have seen, Corinne has not seen.
And I never will.
So, I know, you never will. I am so hyped for this.
How hyped are you?
Movie. I'm so hyped. I am so hyped. I saw this trailer. I think I saw it in theaters, and I clutched my pearls, and I was like, "Is that Dev Patel?" I was like looking gorgeous as per usual because he's gorgeous, and I watched the entire trailer, and I turned to my friend and I said, "We are watching that movie." And we did watch it in theaters, and it was amazing, and I wanted to literally watch it again the next day. I loved it so much. And I watched it last night in preparation for today, and I was like, this movie is doing so much, and I love it. So, I'm really excited. I took way too many notes.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So, Corinne.
Yes.
Probably a dumb question because I know the answer. Why have you not seen Monkey Man?
Because it's violent.
It's very violent. It is très violent, yes.
I feel like my reasons for not watching a movie, it's usually I forgot it existed, it's scary, or it's too violent for me. Like it's one of those three. Which again, I'll never watch this movie, but not for lack of desire. It's more just I cannot mentally handle this movie. Cannot emotionally deal with that movie. So yes, that's why I haven't seen it, because it's really violent, even though I love Dev Patel.
Yes. I can't find, there you are. Okay. Corinne.
Yes.
What do you think this movie is about?
Okay, so this is kind of a cheat episode because a long time ago.
I hate when you do this. I hate you. Actively, I hate you.
You told me what the story was.
Shut up! No one's supposed to know our secrets. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm like a really...
Because I was really excited. I need to talk about it to someone.
Yeah, but this is the disclaimer. However, the caveat is, how much do I remember of what you told me? Because it was months ago. It was right after the movie came out, because you were like, Corinne, I have to tell you about this movie. And I was like, okay, tell me. And then we'll see how much I remember. So, we'll see what I remember. It's a revenge story. I think someone kills his mom, and he's like, I'm going to make it my whole life to kill the man that killed my mom. At the expense of everything else. So I think that's basically it, and he's like training, and then he goes John Wick looking for this guy, and at some point he stumbles across the queer trans community in India, and they help him, and that was like the thing that stood out the most for me out of the synopsis you told me. And then I think he dies in the end, because vengeance comes for us all, and it's it's an Ouroboros. It's a snake eating its own tail. He can't have a happily ever after because he commits to at some point. I feel like at some point there's probably like a woman, and she's like, you could just, some woman or old man is telling him like, this is no way to live your life. You should just move on and like live your life. That's the best revenge. And he is like, I hear you, but I think death and murder.
Respectfully, no.
Respectfully, I want to kill this man. I won't have any peace until I kill him. So that's like the moment of like, where is he gonna go? And then he chooses the path that will lead to his ultimate demise, and then he dies. But he succeeds, but he dies. So I think that's what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. I'm sending you the trailer.
Is it the Red Band trailer?
No, I doubt it's the Red Band trailer. I'm pretty sure this is the trailer I watched.
Okay.
I was looking for the trailer I watched in theaters that made me go, fucking A, I need to watch this movie.
Yeah. Okay, let me make the screen kind of small just in case.
I'm gonna itty bitty.
Let me just make it a little
itty bitty trailer.
Let me just make it a little.
Let me know when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready. 3, 2, 1, go.
Universal.
Oh, is it Monkey Paw?
Oh, look at him.
No.
He's gorgeous.
This music.
When I was a boy, my mother used to tell me a story of a demon king and his army. They brought fire and terror to the land.
Oh no!
Oh no!
The white monkey.
The white monkey. Oh. He's wearing a mask. Oh, I don't like that mask.
You don't like the mask?
Oh, it is Monkey Paw Studios. It's Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give me the job no one wants to do. I'll do it.
Ew.
Anyone who forgets their beliefs doesn't turn out well for them.
Oh my god. Oh, right. He directed this and
Yeah, he directed it, he wrote it. And he's in it, and he's gorgeous. How tall
Oh
is
my
he?
god, he's so beautiful in that suit.
He's gorgeous in this movie.
Puppy!
I've got an answer to every prayer. I call her Nikki.
Oh, it's the car.
Yeah, the little car.
The little car.
Nice headlights.
Those are like a
Yeah, the little itty bitty funny car.
He looks so beautiful. Not the fish tank. Throw his head in there. Oh! That was right in his forehead. Oh, that was what I thought would happen, though. Oh! Bro, feet first!
You need to fight for your mother, for all of us.
Ooh. Oh, see, the
And
old
the
man telling
Quiet
him.
your soul, my son.
Oh, don't call me son. Ooh, ooh. A dish best served cold. Oh, it's primal, never mind. Ooh. Oh.
Oh.
Just one small ember
Oh.
burned down everything.
Come on, that gross mask.
The gross mask.
Oh. Oh. Oh my. Oh. Not in the kitchen. I hate kitchen scenes. There's too many weapons in the kitchen.
There's too many knives and sharp objects.
I'm always scared they're gonna like put someone's head over like the fire into the oven.
Uh-huh.
Or like in
Well,
a
trust me,
blender.
Cream, what they showed you was not even close to being as bad as what this is.
I know, and
Okay.
there were moments I couldn't even look at the trailer. That's why I'm not watching it.
This movie is so violent.
Yeah, but I think it is
So
narratively appropriate. So,
Yes,
yeah.
I agree, because you know I'm big on story and action bores me, but this movie is so good. Okay, Corinne, do you want to amend anything?
No, I think
Nah.
I got it. To be fair,
you
I
know,
would have
yeah.
guessed it was a revenge story, even if you hadn't told me. That was
okay.
Yeah, but if I didn't know it beforehand,
it starts with like
the trailer. When I was
little, and in big letters, revenge.
Yeah, like maybe if I hadn't seen the trailer, I probably would have given some bonkers synopsis. Like I obviously after seeing the trailer, like, okay, it's a revenge story. It's this and this and this. So, but yes, I don't remember the exact details, so I'm still excited, and I'm excited to hear your notes because I know you went in. So.
I went in, and I have a lot to say.
I want to hear everything.
I'm gonna have the wiki up just in case.
Yeah.
But otherwise, although when I was reading the wiki, I was like, you're really again, right? The online version. Are you holding a toy?
Yes.
It doesn't just get. It just. Oh, I can't even. Okay.
That's
the
what
movie
this is
opens.
for.
Yeah.
Okay,
the movie opens, and it's like you hear a woman being like, "Do you know the story of Hanuman?" And it's a mom, and she's like in the forest or the jungle, right, of India, and she's telling her son this story, and basically she's got like the book, and you saw the pictures in the trailer,
yeah,
right, with the like the little monkey boy-ish thing, and so she is. Telling the story about how he's like so hungry and he was eating mangoes and he saw something that looked like a great big mango in the sky and he wanted to get it, right? So he like went and he reached out for it, he flew to it, and of course the shiny mango is the sun, right? And he eats it. And all the gods get angry at him and they punish him. And they take away his powers. So this is like the story she tells him in the beginning.
Interesting. Okay.
And, yes. And then it's like cut to an underground fighting match. It's Dev Patel, and he's in like his monkey mask thing, and he's fighting like the snake or whatever. They all have like animal.
Does the snake also have a mask?
I hate the snake. Okay. No. Like, hold on. So he, as the monkey man, as the monkey, he wears that monkey mask.
Yeah.
Okay. There's another one I'm going to talk about later. He's like the bear, and he's kind of big and lumbering. He doesn't really have a mask, but he's wearing like, I don't know, like those weird like Tarzan onesies or whatever.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, whatever. The snake, he's not really wearing what I would say a mask. That's a snake, but it looks like he's wearing like a dumb like hood that's like skin tight. That's kind of painted white and kind of maybe looks like it's like that reptile like snake skin. But it's really hard to tell. And then he's wearing these little baby booty shorts. And I'm like, I don't think you're really going into the whole snake thing. Personally, I don't think you're doing snake very well.
The theming could be stronger instead of just a white balaclava.
Yeah. And he is getting his ass whooped in this fight. And it's like, you know, dark underground. Everyone's like cheering. And like literally no one cares about him as a fighter. Like it's always about the other guy he's fighting.
Okay.
Like the fight's over, he loses, everyone's like cheering, and you see him like walking away. And he spits out some blood in a sink. And during a lot of the movie, he like remembers, or like it cuts to like scenes of his youth or his childhood or whatever that situation was that had traumatized him as a child. And so it's like he sees fire and he sees like this mustached man, right? But again, we don't know who he is yet. And the guy who runs the underground boxing rink is like, pays him, and Dev is like, hey, I'm just calling him by his name because his character doesn't have a name.
Okay.
He's like the kid.
Yeah.
He's, you know, so like a no-named kind of
guy.
hero.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the kid is like, hey, this is only half or whatever, and he's like, there's a blood bonus, you need to, you know, show blood or whatever. But I'm like, he spat blood in the sink. I think there's blood, but that's just me and my own personal opinions, and I don't have any say in this underground fight.
You're standing up for Dev Patel.
Of course I am.
Yeah.
5'1", but I'll stand up for him any day of the week.
It's not about stature, it's about attitude.
Yes, and I have plenty of that. So then we are now sort of introduced to this new type of character. His name is Baba Shakti. He's a spiritual guru. And like he's got like he has like cult-ish leader vibes, right?
Okay.
Like everyone seems to really like him. And you see him throughout the film, like it might be like on the radio they're talking about him, or like there's a video clip of him doing like just different things. And he's endorsing the current party that's in power. It's called the Sovereign Party. So there are these undertones of like the Indian sort of government sort of things going on. And Dev like goes to like a bar, and he meets like this kid. He's probably like 12, 13. And he asks, the child gives him some information about some lady named Queenie. And so you see Queenie, she's like at like a cafe on the phone, and there's this guy in a wheelchair like trying to get money from people, and he's like bothering her, and she's like, "Go away, leave me alone, whatever." And he manages to steal her wallet. And you see his like wheelchair like, and of course he gets up and he runs away because he's not actually in a wheelchair. And like you see like the wallet passing like dozens of hands to get to the kid. And he shows up to the hotel where she works, that Queenie's the manager of, and he's like, "Here's like your wallet." She's like, "Where'd you find it?" He's like, "I found some people were fighting for it and I grabbed it, whatever." And she gives him some money, and he's like, "I don't want charity." And she's like, "Well, take the money or leave." And he was like, "What I want is
information."
No, I want a job.
Oh, okay.
He's like, "I want a job." And she's like, "Well, where's your CV? I can't just hire people off the street." And he shows her his hands, and they're like burnt. And he's like, this is my CV. Like, this is bleach, oil, whatever. Like, give me all the job, any job you don't want and no one wants to do, and I'll do it. And she's kind of like, I don't know. But while she's in there, she like answers the phone, and she's talking to some people, and she's got like a book out of like these pics of like girls, women, whatever, right? These are clearly women that they are trafficking, right, and picking and buying and like all that stuff. And while Dev is in there waiting, he sees a picture of her with a man, and it's the same man from his childhood. And then of course we see him sort of as a child praying like with his mom and stuff. So anyway, she gives him a job. She's like, "Okay, fine, whatever." She gives him a job, and he's like a dishwasher at the hotel. And he meets this guy named Alfonso, which to me is just the funniest name in the world. And he's like, "Hey, new guy, like, who are you?" And he's like, "My name's Bobby," or whatever. And he's like, "Okay, like, whatever, cool, dude." But you find out that it's clearly a fake name because as he's scrubbing the floor, there's like the bottle of like the Bobby's bleach. So it's just, and Alfonso works for Queenie, like doing like the shady stuff. Yeah. Like drugs, running, things like that. And so the kid goes and he like orders a gun from like some, like he goes to a stall and he's ordering food, but he's like, "Can I get the special?" So like a kid takes him to get a gun, and the guy who's selling it is like, "Hey, you watch John Wick? You like John Wick? You can get like a gun like John Wick." And he's like, "No, I just want something small." Yeah. So he buys like a .38 revolver, and he like continues just going to work, doing everything he does. And he's sort of like doing things for Queenie. Like she clearly is using him to like do whatever. So like he gets called to her office, and Queenie's yelling at some girl, most likely a sex worker, most likely she was pregnant or something, right? And it's like, "How could you let this happen?" And it's like, "Well, lady, what do you think?" Yeah. And so he's like always hearing like all this stuff that's going down up there. And she's like, "Turn the wall," or whatever, and he like can see like in like the reflection, like she's accessing like a wall safe and stuff. Yeah. And so she's talking to Alfonso, and she's like, "Oh, that guy, what's his name? I think his name is Rana Singh. Like he's gonna be here over the weekend or like next weekend or something." And that's the name of the guy he keeps seeing in his like memories. And so the kid is like, "Oh, hey, Alfonso, like, let me get into, like, the upstairs," because there is, like, the whole, I don't know if it's a hotel, I'm assuming it's a hotel, but there's, like, the VIP, like, the lounge area. And he's like, hey, let me get in there. Alfonso's like, you think we get anybody up there? So the kid is like, okay, tries to make friends with him. He's like, if you want to make some guaranteed money, go to this like underground fighting rink and bet against the monkey in this round. And he's like, how do you know? Because I'm gonna lose that fight in the third like round or whatever.
Yeah.
Just say that's the round I'm gonna lose, or you'll make money. And so of course Alfonso does it. He goes to the fight and he sees like him fighting. He's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he loses and he wins a bunch of money. So he's like, oh, now this is my friend, right? Like, so he agrees to give the kid a chance to work as a waiter in sort of like the VIP area. And so while he's there, Alfonso's like showing him around, right? And it's like, this is where everyone, the most powerful people in India are. You have like the defense minister, you know, like all that stuff, right? And of course it's all these, and even like other people, like we have like some Japanese, like, I don't know, like minister or whatever, like they're all there. And they have like the menu where you can pick like the woman you want and stuff. Yeah, it's really gross.
It's like a P. Diddy party.
Yeah. And all the women have like these small tattoos. I don't know why I'm doing it like this.
Show me your small tattoo.
Look at my shoulder. No, I forgot we're like videoing this. Like on their like shoulder, collarbone, whatever. It's like the small bird or whatever. So like all the women who are obviously owned by like the hotel and Queen.
It's like a brand.
Have that tattoo. Yeah, like a brand.
Gross.
Yeah. And the kid sees that there's like an upstairs that goes further up, so he's like, I need to know what's over there. And he meets one of the girls, like the sex workers, and she's with this client or whatever. And he like pours the wrong wine into a glass, and he's like, how could you do that? That's clearly a white wine glass. Why would you pour red wine in there? And like the girl is like distracting him or whatever, and he starts like touching her, and that like sort of again hits him with like some trauma, and he's like remembering like just like hands covered in blood, like and he's getting very panicky, and he's like, he needs to leave, and he kind of runs out. And as he leaves and gets to catch his breath, that's where he meets that dog that you saw. That cute little dog in the trailer. Like,
Yeah. The puppy.
Yeah. And so he sees it, and he like is being nice to it. He grabs some like uneaten food from the trash, and he gives it to the dog. And the lady who was at the club who comes, and she's like, don't feed it, it'll just keep coming back. But also, like, if you can't handle just that very small thing that just happened, you probably shouldn't be working as a waiter up there. Yeah. And he's just like, whatever. So you start to see him, like, he's, like, training with his gun, shooting. He's working in the VIP lounge. To get in, there's, like, the security guards. They check through the metal detectors and stuff. Every night he's feeding the dog, whatever. So he ends up training the dog to come every night, and so that very, like, one night he decides that's the night that the dog's gonna bring the gun. So, like, he comes, and you see the dog come with, like, a wrapped around his neck, like his little gun and, like, a little bag. Yeah. Unaware that he is trafficking weapons into the hotel. Poor doggy, right?
He's an asset now. What is it? Accessory to murder.
He's an accessory to murder. That poor dog has no clue.
So up to this point, has it been shown that, like, Dev Patel's character has a motivation? It's just the audience doesn't know what the motivation is yet?
We don't know what the very specific motivation is yet. We know that he's after that guy from his memories. And so we kind of know there's revenge, but we don't know the exact story.
Right. But it's not just him like, oh, suddenly this has happened, now I have an opportunity. No. It's very
it's very obvious that he is intentionally working at this hotel.
Plan. Yes.
He has that plan already. So he finally gets access to, like, the topmost floor where it's, like, to deliver drugs, right? It's basically like a club, you know, you have, like, the sexy ladies dancing and stuff and all that stuff. And so while he's there, he sees the girl, and she's, like, with Rana Singh, who is the corrupt police chief. And this is the guy we have seen from his childhood memories. And like you see he has like a scar across his ear, and you even see like the memory of like when it got slashed. So we're like, ooh, okay, whatever. So he sees him. Dev goes into the bathroom, and he is like trying to get his breath, try to get it back, and he like screams in anger, and then he grabs the bleach powder. And then like Singh is out there, Rana Singh is out there. He's like, I want my drugs. And Dev is like, I got you.
I got you drugs right here, buddy.
Yeah, it's more like he just like holds it out and he grabs it and he like sniffs it all up. But of course, as he's there, he's like freaking out because, you know, it's clearly he did not sniff up cocaine. It's bleach. So he starts getting a nosebleed. He goes to the bathroom. And the kid follows after him and he like locks that bathroom door. And he points the gun at the police chief and he's like, blessings from my mother or whatever. And Rana Singh is like, what's going on? But of course there was someone in the bathroom. He didn't check to see when it was there, so he like opens it up and he's there, and so like he gets distracted. He shoots the gun, but it doesn't shoot him, and so he gets into a big fight with both of those two guys.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's basically just getting the shit kicked out of him, right?
It was a flawless plan up until that moment.
Until that moment, right?
Okay.
And
you gotta check the stalls, man.
You gotta check the stall. If you're gonna commit a murder, you gotta make sure there's no fucking witnesses.
Yeah.
No one can stop you.
Check the feet, bang the doors open, look like you're looking for a stall to pee in, and then swivel the gun.
Yes, and then go and shoot, right? But he was also kind of hesitating, obviously.
Yeah. He's probably never killed anyone at this point.
Probably never killed anyone at this point.
That's
the
about
kid,
to change.
like... a lot. It's gonna change a lot. So the kid like shoots the other guy. He dies, and then he's still fighting Rana Singh. He like tries to choke him with like the bathroom chain, but he's unsuccessful because like Singh like stabs him with a piece of glass in the back of the knee, and he like stabs him in the kid stabs the guy in the ear, all this stuff.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And so Singh like manages to like, I think, escape, or he's like gasping for breath on the ground, and there's like this weird aquarium in the bathroom.
In the bathroom?
Yeah, it's
that
like,
scene is in the bathroom? Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
And so he like grabs like, I don't know what it is, and he breaks the glass and he like jumps out of there because everyone heard the gunshot, so they're all coming, trying to break the door down. And he runs out of there and he like runs into like the closet, and that's where he sees the window, and he runs at full force.
Yeah.
And but of course he hits it and he bounces right back off, and so he's like, it's not the way to leave. And everyone's coming after him. He like this is eats a guy, but it's not eats a guy. He hits a guy with like a fire hydrant.
Ooh.
He like slams another guy into like the break glass thing, you know. He basically was kicking. Now he's kicking everyone's ass in the stairway, and he like runs into the parking lot. Everyone's like, "Where is he? Where is he?" And he's like hiding. And he got stabbed, so he's like wrapping it up, and so they see the blood, so they're like, "Where is he? Where is he?" And he is like looking for where to go, and he sees Alfonso's car, and he basically steals it.
The nice red one, or like the little
no, the shitty little
the dinky
like,
thing,
the one, where he's like this Nicki Minaj or whatever. And he knows what it looks like because they had taken that car to like the fights or whatever. Yeah. And Alfonso is there, and he's like, "Bobby, my car!" And he stops and he like gets in. So now they think Alfonso is in cahoots with the kid. And they are now in like a big old police chase. Yeah. Like all the police are chasing after them in this really shitty car. And there's like a helicopter chasing after them with like the spotlight, right? Because of course this guy, if he's corrupt, he's the police chief.
He's sending everyone.
And so they're like almost getting away, but of course a little girl is like crossing the road, and she like stops and screams, and they barely stop and like don't hit her. But the police comes and they hit his car and they like flip over. Alfonso's okay, and he like runs away. He's like, "I'm sorry, man," and he like leaves. But the police show up with like their cricket bats to beat the shit out of him. And the kid wakes up handcuffed in the back of a truck, And he's with like all these police officers, and he's like, I don't give a shit, and he like beats the shit out of them. He like grabs the gun and he shoots one of the guys.
Oh, while they're driving? Whoa.
Yes, while they're driving, he like stumbles out of like the back of the truck, and he shoots one of the police in the face. And he runs into like a random building. But of course, the random building turns out to be, you know, a brothel. Mm-hmm. So it's like a whole, you know, everyone's having all the sex. And the brothel owner like shows up and he's like, "You wanna fuck, man? How dare you bring all these police to my place, right?" Mm-hmm. And he has like an axe. And he's like, "I'm gonna come at you with this big old axe."
The brothel owner has an axe?
Yes, he has an axe. He's like, "I'm about to fuck you up." And the kid is like, So they get into this fight where he's trying to like, he's like swinging the axe. Yeah. And of course he gets some random guy just walking by like in the neck, and that guy's dead. Uh-huh. And it's like, bro, dude, if you're gonna be swinging an axe, like aim for your guy. Like, what are you doing?
He's probably like high on something, to be honest.
Probably. Yeah. Most of these people seem to be on some type of drug. They get into like a big old fight. Like the kid like bites his nose and he's like, "Rah!" And then again they start grappling. He like literally bites his nose off and like spits it out. And I'm like, that is disgusting, but also really hot. No! Mark me down for scared and horny. Really, and he ends up choking the dude because his hands are still handcuffed during all this. Like his handcuffed hands. But then the police come in and they shoot that guy. And they're shooting at the kid, and he's like running away, and he hops like, you know, classic get on top of the roofs of the buildings and like running away. Yeah, of course, yeah. And there's like a helicopter like spotlight on him, and like they shoot him, and he falls into, I think it's the river or like some type of body of water. Yeah. But it's nasty. It is super gross and nasty, and you're like, ugh. Yeah. You're getting dysentery, you're getting all of the horrible water diseases. Cholera. I don't know what. Yeah. Cholera for sure. Yeah. And then, of course, we see, like, the forest of his youth. We see him when he's little and his mom, right? His memories. But we're also seeing, like, his wound being, like they're pulling out the bullet, and he's, like, it's getting cauterized. And he's in just, like, so much pain. Yeah. And we see that it's the trans women. So again, during this, you kind of hear mention of them like in the background, like their land and homes are like being taken away, and they're being forced like these areas. And so he wakes up at like an abandoned temple where these like trans women live. And we meet Alpha, and she is like, "You should have died, but the gods have a plan for you," or something, right? And so he ends up finding sanctuary with these women. Alpha's like, "Yeah, the police think we're weird, so they don't come around here." Like, basically, right? Yeah. Like, they're scared of us. And we start to see, like, that Baba Shakti guy. Mm-hmm. Like, again, it's definitely more cult-like. You see him, like, this weird, like, tower. And he has like a huge following, and we learn that Rana Singh works for him. Yeah, so he's like under his payroll. Yeah. So so very corrupt, right? Like, there's your proof. And he's like, "Who's this guy who attacked you?" And he was like, "He's nobody." And he's like, "We'll get rid of that nobody before he becomes somebody." Right? Oh, deep. Oh,
the dialogue.
Oh my goodness.
The turn of phrase.
Yeah. So, what's his name? The kid is like sort of just living in this area, and Alpha finds him and is like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, can you not sleep?" And the kid's like, "I never sleep."
That's my secret cap.
That's my Batman voice. He's like, "I never sleep." And she's like, "What is it? Like, voices in your head?" He's like, "It's my mother's screams that I hear," kind of thing. And so she's like, "Okay, the only way you can move forward with your revenge is for you to like to deal with this trauma that you have, right? Like, you need to face it head on before you can actually accomplish what you want to do." Yeah. And she's like, "Are you ready?" He's like, "I'm ready." And she's like, "This is some poison toxin that you need to breathe," or whatever. Like, like only the strong survive. And the kid's like, I got this, right? Like kind of thing.
She's like, you gotta go onto like a spirit trip or something.
Yes,
face
basically.
the hallucination, and then you'll be good. Yeah.
And we sort of see like, this is where it gets a little weird because it's like we're kind of in his head. And it's like just sort of the silhouette of him, and he's like there, and then he like opens his chest. You don't see like anything weird, but it's just like this weird like white thing, and maybe like a yellow piece, almost like, oh, is that the sun? Is that the mango he? Mm-hmm. And then you see like the little white monkey, and you're like, it's a monkey. And then we see what actually happened. We learn about his childhood trauma. So as a child, his village is attacked. Like in the middle of the night, like he as a child was watching like a puppet show, and it's the police, and they come and they're going to destroy the village, right? And Shakti is the one who orders it. He's like outside of town. He's like, time to do the Lord's, like God's work or whatever, right? And so they like are basically burning down all the houses because they want the land.
Okay.
And they want the land to build whatever they want to build.
I see.
So the mom hides the kid like in their home. She's like, just hide, please don't make a single sound, like hide up here. And Rana Singh comes in, the police chief, and he's like, whoa, what do we have here? Whatever, super gross, you know?
Yeah.
And he's clearly like coming on to her, like he's starting to touch her, like he's gonna rape her or whatever, but she has a knife behind her hand, and she slices him in the ear. And he gets mad, and he's like, you bitch, you know, classic horrible man. And he, like, takes off his belt, and he's, like, starts beating her with it. And then he, like, chokes her to death.
Oh, my God.
And then he's like, you know what? It's even better. I'm gonna pour gasoline on her, and I'm gonna set this house on fire. Right? And, of course, the kid is still, like, up there hiding. So he, like, does it. He, like, pours the gasoline. He sets the fire. And so you also see how the kid burned his hands, which is like he was trying to get his mom. Until finally he couldn't. He was in so much pain he had to leave. And he's basically just has there is like the village burns, his house burns, everything that was, you know, his home and life and happiness is burnt away, right? And he says like, I failed her, because he's talking to Alpha now.
Yeah.
And Alpha's like, you tried to save her, right? Like, these hands, you see scars, but what I see is, like, a child trying to save their mom, right? You have a purpose. Fight for us, fight for you, and remember who you are. And so he's like, all right, okay, perfect, right?
Yeah.
And now that, like, this is sort of revealed, you sort of see, like, the creepy guru guy. He's, like, doing an interview, and the interviewer is like, so what do you say to the claims about people who say that you have, like, taken their land without, like, properly paying them or whatever? He's like, you know, I have never done anything wrong. Those were just farmers. They weren't even making money. I was helping them. They've joined me now. Right? Like, the super gross, like, I could never do anything wrong type of thing. And so this is where we have, like, the training montage. So the kid is, like, with his little rice-filled
punching bag,
thank you. English escapes me, right? And he's, like, kind of punching. He doesn't really know what to do. And you have, like, the guy with the drums. Yeah. He, like, plays the drums, and he starts, like, hitting the bag to the rhythm of the drums and stuff. And he's, like, it's one of my favorite scenes because he's, like, hitting the bag, and he's, like, super into it, and he, like, takes off his shirt, and all the women are, like, you know? And I'm just like, as well. They, me, same. And he's really starting to find, like, a home here. He's, like, getting along with these women. He's even having them, like, train with him, like, all this stuff. But there's also, and this is a lot of, like, the sort of, like, very overt, like, messaging of, like, we are representative of the people and the government is not representative of the people kind of thing, because you are seeing, like, images of, like, the poor people who are being mistreated and the rich who have all this stuff, right? So, like, Shakti and sort of the sovereign party are very clearly mistreating, like, the minorities, like the trans women, the Muslims, etc., etc., but while claiming to
Right.
You know, we are for the working man. Of course we care for the poor kind of thing.
Right.
And one of the women in his community is attacked. She gets beaten up. Because the police, I guess, basically hang like an eviction notice on the door, and she's like, "What are you doing here?" And they beat her up. And so the kid decides now is the time to act, and what he does is he like breaks into like the temple offerings, and he takes the money. And you see that child from the very beginning place a bet on those underground fights. And we even see like Alfonso, and he sees a poster that says the monkey's back or whatever, and he's like, oh. So he goes to the fight, and he goes to see the fight. And so you see Monkey come in, he's gonna fight like the snake or whatever, and like the underground announcer guy's like, whoa, the horrible evil monkey versus the amazing snake or whatever. And so like, let's get this fight started or whatever, and then the monkey just like kicks the snake in the jaw, and he like is out cold KO, and everyone in the arena is like, the fuck, right? Like, what just happened? It's dead quiet, and the guy comes back, he's like, wow, what a lucky kick, right? And they grab like the bear or like go kick his ass or whatever, and he's this huge guy, right? Like, he's really big, he's really tall, he's just like, and so the monkey's having more trouble fighting him, but he manages to like knock him out too. And now this is where you start to get buy-in from the crowd, where some guy's like, Monkey Man! Everyone's like, yeah, Monkey Man! Right, whatever. And the kid makes a shit ton of money, and the women find a backpack in the temple, and they're like, where did this come from? And it's all the money from the fight, the winnings from the fight, with a note that's like, it's time to remember who you are, right? So, okay, and then you see that scene that you didn't like, where he's like bleaching that monkey mask.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Can I say? Yes, I can say.
You can say whatever you want.
I know. He like dyes the mask, and he only wears it for a short time, and then I'm like, he's gorgeous, and I want to see your face, but also you put all this effort into bleaching that mask. Like, I want to see it more. You know, I know you didn't like the mask, but I honestly love the mask. I love the mask.
I just don't like monkey.
I know you don't like monkeys. Yes.
That. This texture's gross.
Yes. And so it's sort of the night of like the elections or whatever. And I don't know if it's an auction or if it's just like some kind of party where they're like, we have Shakti here, like we're so glad he's teamed up with the Sovereign Party the night like of the elections or before the elections, like we're all gonna win, we all know, like whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's also, I think, the Diwali festival. So like there's all these people like dressed up, partying, dancing, all this stuff. And so the kid shows up with that white mask in the alleyway, and the security guards are like, what is this guy doing at the surface entrance?
Right.
Literally. And then he whips off the mask and kicks their ass. And that's why I'm just like, you should have kept the fucking mask on while you kicked their ass, but whatever.
I mean, in that case, yeah, because I would protect his identity, but also I don't want to look at that mask.
He doesn't give a shit. Right? Yeah. He doesn't give a shit.
Self-preservation, like, gone.
100%. And we also see like the women, they're like dressed up in those fancy dresses with these masks, and they're kind of sneaking around. You kind of don't really know what they're doing. But he like goes in through the kitchen, and he just kicks everyone's ass. Right? He like sets someone's head on fire.
That's what I'm saying. Those kitchen fight scenes always stress me out because I'm like, anything. It has all the tools to break down a body. You know, because they're breaking down pigs and shit. So it's like, you could do some serious damage to a human being inside a kitchen if you really wanted to. So whenever there's a fight scene in a kitchen, I'm like, no, I'm going to see some weird shit I don't want to see.
Yeah, he like stabs someone in the knee. I'm assuming is what this says, because my note actually says, "Ta es he like is hitting all these people like in the head with this coffee pot. Right? You know those air pressure, I think it's like the gas canisters that were the big ones.
Oh,
he like sets it on fire. Like he sets it up to like on the flame. It doesn't go off immediately, but he's got it there.
Yeah.
He like gets into the elevator. He gets into two fights. He gets into a fight with two men in the elevator. He like, I don't know if he has a knife or someone else has a knife, but he's just like stabbing them a whole bunch of stuff. The other one is like gets the knife and he's like he's trying to stab him or whatever.
Oh, it's like the slow and it's like.
Oh my god, Corinne, this scene was really just like, wow. So
hold on.
He's got him there. He's got the knife and he's not letting him push it.
Yeah.
So he grabs the handle of the knife with his teeth. He shoves it into his neck and he twists it all with his mouth. And I was like, that should not be hot, but it was.
Oh my god. So he sexually stabs someone with his mouth.
I think he sexually stabs someone with his mouth. But yeah, so he like stabs a dude. And of course he's going up to like wherever this party is with the rich people and Shakti.
Mm-hmm.
And the canister finally blows. And the whole building shakes and everyone's like, what's going on? And the elevator opens and one of the dead guys that he killed falls out and everyone's like, ah! Right? They all start screaming and he comes out and he's like, I'm about to
fuck your shit up. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna fuck some shit up. And the guru dude, he is escorted out and up. And so the kid is like, I don't care, I'm gonna kill him and I'm gonna get everyone. So he like is killing everyone and beating everyone up.
Mm-hmm.
But he also sees that the chief of police guy has also gone up.
Because he's protecting the guru. Yeah.
I think he is, but I don't really know why or where he went. So he like follows after him and he sees where they're going. He's like, okay, so I gotta get there. But more men like come up in the elevator, like I don't know, a dozen at least. And they're like, we're here to kick your ass. And the kid's like, oh no, what do I do? But who shows up? His hot trans women in their super cool outfits with the masks on.
Yeah.
And they have like the little like scimitars and
Yeah.
shit. Like they got a whole bunch of all these weapons. And it's like, all right, let's kick some ass, right? So they like start kicking ass. And Queenie comes in, she's got a gun and she just starts shooting at the woman like, I don't give a shit.
You about to kill her too.
Yeah. And so she's about to like kill, I think, the kid or Alpha or someone. But that lady sex worker comes and she like has like a tray and she like hits her on the back of the head and she falls.
You go, girl.
Yeah, and I think she kills her.
With the tray?
Yeah.
Did she just like decapitate her or something?
No, I think she just hit her like really badly. Or maybe she didn't die. But the kid takes the tray and he uses it to cut off Queenie's thumb.
Okay, he needs that finger pin.
Yes. And so then Alpha's like, go, we got this. And he's like, all right, cool. I was going to give a thumbs up.
He just holds her thumb up.
Under the circumstances, yeah.
He's like, okay.
Here it is. And so he goes up into the elevator. And he got injured. He did get shot, I think, by Queenie. Or by someone. And he, like... So there's, like, blood, like, dripping all over. And
he's on a time crunch now.
He's on a time crunch. He doesn't care. And he goes up to the VIP area. And there's, like, a whole bunch of, like, these little mirrors and things all around.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of sees him, like, in one of the mirrors. And they just start fighting. Like, Singh, like, hits him. But then he's, like, goes up to him, he, like, with his fist raised. Yeah. Like, we're gonna do this mano-y-mano because we're men and this is how we do it or whatever.
Yeah.
And they start fighting, but of course the kid like is able to overcome him and like is beating him up. And like as he's on the ground, he like grabs a high heel and he just starts like beating him with a high heel, which I think is
wow.
Great.
Okay.
And then he like gets rid of the high heel and I think he just ends up like beating him to death. And he's dead and he's just like perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he grabs a knife. The guy's knife, so Singh's knife, and he uses the thumb to get like access to the elevator to go up, and he goes all the way up, And it's like this big empty room, like Shakti's in the back, like wading his feet in water, and like on the wall there's this great big like painting of like some type of war or whatever, with Hanuman, the monkey god king, whatever, is like in the middle. So yeah, there's that painting, that portrait or whatever, and shit, I lost it. Here it is. And it's like just red, and the guru Shakti, he's like, why not end the cycle of violence?
Of course he would say that.
Which
of course this motherfucker would say that. You started this cycle of violence. Like, now you want this guy to end it?
Why continue the violence? Shouldn't we end it here? Whatever nonsense. And it's like, bruh, this is all your fucking fault.
End it before it comes back to me. Why not end it before I have to reap what I sow?
How convenient.
Yeah. Like, shut up. Oh my god, I hate you.
Yeah. And the kid is like, do you know my mother's name? Do you know any of your victims' names at all? And Shakti like comes up to him and he's like holding his big sandals. He's like, do you see these sandals? Like, these are made for me by one of my followers who like was like, he inscribed on that like, sorry for killing you to like any bugs he steps on kinds of thing. But it has like the round thing, and he takes it out and it's like a blade, and he like stabs
of course
the kid in the stomach, and he's like, twist.
I thought you were good. What happened to ending the cycle of violence?
It's not about ending the cycle of violence, that's for sure. And the kid like breaks his hand and like pulls it out and like stabs him, and he's like, stab. But no, before he stabs him, Shakti guy's like, don't do it, the people need me. No. Like all this nonsense, disgusting thing. Yeah, and he's just, so he just like kills him. And he's like, only God can forgive you. Like, I'm just here to fucking kill you. Like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Right? And he even like, he like stabs him much, and then he like stabs him in the head. He's dead.
Damn. He wants to make sure.
Yeah, he's like, psh. And like, the kid like is standing up and he's looking at the painting. And then he kind of like smiles a little bit, and then he's like thinking about his mom, and he dies.
Oh.
And that's the movie. But he dies with the memories of his mother, having avenged her death and the death of his village, and fought for all the little people who were under the power of these horrible people.
Yeah. Stabbed that man right through his third eye.
Right through his third goddamn eye.
Yep. Wow.
All right, Corinne. Thoughts? Impressions?
I'm wondering if the guru guy, like, who he's based on. There's a part of me that wonders, this might be ignorant, but there's a part of me that wonders if he's based on Gandhi. Or a reference to him.
He definitely has, like, Gandhi vibes. Like, that's definitely, I think, the vibe they were going for. At least for, like, a world audience kind of thing. I don't really know if there is a, like...
one-to-one.
Like, a modern equivalent to it. Yeah,
mainly because I know, speaking to different Indian friends I have, that the representation of Gandhi to the rest of the world is like really not that accurate. And that he
was a creep.
Yeah, that he was really creepy, that he had a lot of not great ideas, and he wasn't like this godlike, saint-like person, that he's a lot more complicated. So that's why there's a part of me that wonders, like, is this like a critique on him, or is it just a critique on anyone in that kind of position? And there's a part of me that wonders, like, you didn't go too into it in your description, but I feel like in the trailer they were hinting a lot we're referencing a lot like the caste system and how that kind of shapes everyone's lives, because that's also a thing that like you learn about, again, coming from an American public school education. Right. You learn about it, but I don't think I was aware how ingrained it still is in Indian society until, again, talking to like other people that are Indian, talking to my Indian friends and being like, oh, this is like an integral thing. It's like as ingrained as like racism and American slavery, right, is in our society. There's no like white supremacy in our society and the caste system in India. And of course there's white supremacy there too because of like the British. But it's
classic colonialism after effects.
Exactly. But like how it's kind of come out in different ways, and like colorism within like Latina Dad, right? And all that. And it's like, oh, I didn't realize how deeply ingrained that stuff still is, to the point of like you can't marry outside your caste sort of thing, you know, because in the United States, even though there's definitely extremely super racial people, like racist people, societally it's still accepted to like, you know, I don't want to say race mix, but I can't, like, you know, marry whoever you want, right? But it seems like it's a little more difficult to marry outside of your caste in India. But again, maybe it's just down to the family. I don't know how still ingrained it is. So I'm curious how much of that is in play in the film. Whether maybe it's like if you know, you know sort of thing. And if you don't know, then
I think,
you know.
Yeah, I would say it's not. I mean, it's explicit in the way that he is talking about things like the issue of like the poor and but I do agree, like I don't think that maybe a sort of non-educated in it person would understand like the caste system, but as someone who understands that India does have one, to me it was very obvious that that was another thing that he was sort of critiquing in the film. Yes.
Okay.
And he even mentions, like, I know Dev Patel, like, when he talks about, like, he very much was trying to, like, talk about, like, the caste system and, like, the poor and the rich and, like, how India is very much divided. You know, that deep inequality of wealth and opportunity was, something he didn't want to sort of talk about.
It reminds me a bit of Parasite, where it's like there's elements that are kind of universal because of capitalism and class. Like, I would argue every country has issues regarding that because, again, colonialism, white supremacy, et cetera, it's impacted almost everybody. But then if you are from the culture, then there's like added depth and added layers of like, if you know, you know, and it adds more to the story beyond just like the universally understood things. So it sounds like that's happening here too. It sounds extremely violent, which again I understand.
It's very
is
violent.
The point.
As I watched, I was like, Corinne can never watch it. And I was watching last night. I was like, Corinne can never watch it.
Yeah.
Because you would have to watch a lot of the movie with just like your eyes closed.
Yeah. Just fully out of the room. Then you call me and like, okay, Corinne, here's the flashback scene you can watch for 10 seconds before you have to leave again. Bless you, bless
before
you.
we get to the violent backstory scene, flashback scene.
I am.
But you just came up here and made me sneeze, and now you're gone.
Yeah.
Sure.
I am also curious on the artistic / narrative decisions behind the violence, because like, obviously I'm not a fan of violent or hyper-violent films. However, that doesn't mean I think that they should not exist. It's just, this is just something I cannot watch, and that I choose not to watch, and often I understand that there is artistic or narrative merit to the type of violence that they're doing, right? Whether it's an exploitation film or a parody of an exploitation film, you know, or one of those, the violence is the point, or it's part of the stylized or whatever sort of thing, right? Like, it's literally Tarantino's name brand is the hyper-violence is the point, which is its own thing. So I'm curious. It's its own thing that deserves its own critique and conversation, right? But I'm curious with this movie, what, like, the stance or the angle or what was the intent and the decision making behind the violence and the amount of violence, the type of violence? Was there thought behind, like, the wound making, how the violence progresses throughout the film? You know, is this is this in line with other Indian films that are also equally as violent, or is this bucking the trend by being more violent? You know, like, that's, like, stuff that I'm wondering, like, why is it in this direction, or is it just, like, sometimes it is that violent and that's the story I wanted to tell, or I just thought it would look cool. Like, I'm just curious what the decision making and the artistic and narrative intent behind the violence is, to get really pretentious film school about it. But it is something that I would find interesting, so.
Okay. I did find this thing on IMDb. So, a horrendously violent real-life assault was the inciting incident that led Dev Patel to begin writing the script for this film. The Nirbhaya case occurred in December of 2012 and saw 6 men assault, rape, and torture a young woman on a bus traveling through South Delhi. She died from injuries 2 days later. So I wonder, to go back to that, because India is, again, another place where there is a lot of violence, especially against women. That I wonder if that is sort of a reaction to, like, that extreme violence that happens, I think, every day, probably. And instead of being, I guess, in this case, against women, it's like
flipping
to
the
protect
script.
women,
Yeah.
or, like, to flip the script in a way. Because we even have, like, the trans women who, again, are also victims of that really terrible extreme violence, who are now, like, kicking ass and, like, taking names.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe that's where that, if you were looking for an answer to why is it so extremely violent. But I think it also fits the tone of the film, where he has experienced something that is so unbelievably traumatic that I think it makes sense for his reaction to be just as equally, right, sort of violent in that way.
Yeah.
And he's also dealing with people who don't have a conscience, right? So even their reactions, right? I think everyone who is some type of villain to him and some antagonist to him in some way is sort of, again, coming from this place of, like, this violence is the norm and this is how we respond to it, right? Like, the brothel owner didn't have to come out with a fucking axe, right?
Yeah.
Like, he did.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the guy at the end, right? The guru guy with his weird, creepy sandals, right? Like, I don't know, like, this thing that seemed like, I don't know, it might be for peace, and instead we're using it for, like, violence in this way, and it's sort of unexpected because he has this image of being like this, but of course he is actually like that. I don't know. And maybe that plays into it as well.
I could see that.
And again, like, the film is kind of, like, gritty. Like, when we're shooting in the streets and we're with, like, the poor and, like, in the lower caste system, like, it is, like, dirty, and it's, like, you can see, like, this, they're not living, like, you know, the best life at all.
Yeah. I wonder if also it's kind of like he's speaking their language and their language is violence, or now he is communicating to them in their currency and their currency is violence, right? Like, it's kind of like the Equalizer, where it's like they've committed such horrible acts of violence against him and probably countless other people, right? That's
100%. Yeah.
Like thousands, millions of people.
His whole village was burned down, right? Like,
and then
you have these women who are literally being bought and sold, and you know.
And I'm sure his village was not the only one that was burnt down and treated like that. There's probably like thousands of children that had the exact same experience as him, right? And it's kind of like this one man is finally speaking their language and like talking, like bartering with them in violence of like, you did this against me, so now I get to do it against you, and you actually can't do anything to stop me about it. Your class or anything can't do anything about it, because if I kill you, you're dead. Like, there's nothing you can't, there's no special thing that protects you from my violence. So it's almost like violence is the equalizer here. Like, he's flipping it back onto them.
Yeah.
There's like that quote, I don't remember what it was, but it's kind of like when you have, I don't remember the exact quote. But it's along the lines of like when the oppressed has like no other avenue to like express that they're oppressed, then they resort to violence sort of thing, and you shouldn't be surprised that they're resorting to violence because you've cut off all other avenues of communication. So it's like, this is the only way we can move forward. Like the quote is something along the lines of that. I just don't remember what the actual quote is, but it's that line of thinking seems to be at the core of this film. So interesting. I can see that. It's very sad. Like his backstory is so horribly sad.
It's very sad. Yeah. It's so tragic.
Like the burned hands thing, that's like, oh, that's so heartbreaking. Yeah. Okay. Do you have further thoughts you'd like to share and elaborate on about this movie?
I don't know. I think I really enjoy how he told the story. Like the reason I wanted to, like when I took my notes, like, okay, this is a flashback moment, this is because I think it does go into a bit of his psyche of like what he's experiencing. And I enjoyed the sort of mystery of like, wait, what happened to him, right? Like these shots of like these moments of his life as a child, and it's like, okay, what happened? Like you're trying to piece it together, and when you see it, it's like, oh, right, like it's awful and it's bad, and I think it definitely gives that buy-in at the beginning, like, okay, something bad happened here, like, yeah, I think you should kill this guy. But once you get to the end, you're like, no, like, fuck them up.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Fuck them up, right? Like, so I really enjoyed that. I also think there were, like, a lot of interesting shots, and I think it was very beautiful. And, again, like, I love character, and so watching an action movie where character was at the heart and center, to me, it was so good. Like, I watched John Wick and I was so bored. I was like, I don't care, because you're trying to have me buy in with a wife I never met. She's dead. We meet a puppy. He knows the puppy a fucking day. I don't give a shit. And the puppy's dead. Like, I'm sad, I guess, because the puppy's dead. But I didn't see you have a great, deep emotional attachment to the puppy, right? We didn't spend, like, 10 minutes with you and the dog. You and the dog had 2 minutes, and then the dog died, right? Like, so to me, I don't see a reason for you to go on this whole binge murder. Because also, I don't know your wife, right? Like, why do I care? Whereas, like, here, I was like, oh, okay, like, what's going on with them? Like, oh, there's something here. Oh, that's his mom. Like, where is his mom? Like, what's going right? Like, I want to know why he's doing this.
Right.
And once I know, I'm on board, right? So to me, like, that is so much more interesting of, like, a character-motivated sort of action as opposed to, you're an action hero, this is just what you do because, like, you know.
Yeah.
So that is something I enjoy a lot more. And I know he was, like, trying to speak to a lot of different, like, commentaries to a lot of different things in India specifically, which, you know, I always love when we're trying to dig deeper into, like, the cultural aspects or trying to, you know, speak to current events of what's going on. I mean, even, like, there was, when he is sort of doing his training, there's, like, a bunch of, like, montage scenes of, like, of actual footage of, like, violence being caught on camera in India specifically, even, like, so, like, when we see, like, the trans woman who got beaten up, before that, we saw images of, like, police officers or whatever, like, beating up a woman, you know, this kind of stuff, so it is, like, you could tell that was, you know, not filmed for this shoot, it was, like, real,
it's like
and so it's
footage,
like, oh, like, there is a lot going on here. I know some people say it was, like, a lot, maybe too much, but, again, I love to be thinking, I love being cerebral, so it's like, oh, I like this. Some people are like, you know, he's reaching a little too far, he didn't hit the mark, but I think he hit it, maybe as someone who isn't as well-versed in, you know, the politics and the culture of India, but to me, I was like, I see where he's coming from, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think also, like, India, like many Asian countries, suffers from a lot of exoticism and Orientalism that kind of, I don't know if glorifies is the right word, but we're gonna go with it. Like it whitewashes a lot of the horrible things that go on in that country in favor of the aesthetic, right? Because people are like, oh my god, belly dancing, oh my god, saris, oh my god this, oh my god that, right? And that happens obviously like China, Korea, Japan, Thailand, like literally almost all the Asian countries, in general. Like I was about to say past the Middle East, but even the Middle East suffers from that too, right? The orientalizing, exoticizing thing. So it's almost kind of like, hey, India is not just Bollywood movies. Like here is also like what happens here. Here's the really dirty, nitty gritty stuff. And he has this platform of, in collaboration with Jordan Peele and being able to show this theatrically, like wide release in the United States, where there's many people who view India through rose-colored glasses, even though they've never been there. They're into the culture because, again, these countries are exporting their culture. That's what I think a lot of people don't understand is these countries are intentionally, like, Hollywood is an exporter of American culture. It is an export of American culture, selling the idea of the American dream, of the American lifestyle, of the American glamour, to try to convince people from other countries to come over. And then it gets even more nefarious when you consider how the American government and the military are destabilizing other countries. So it's like, wow, my house is getting like blown up, but I'm also watching this movie showing me how great America is. Maybe I'll go there. Or, wow, the economy is really horrible and my dad suddenly can't get a job, but we're watching this. It's like it's selling this thing. So on one hand, it is entertainment, but on the other hand, it is also an exported good, and it is propaganda for your own country. It's an image, right? And if we can understand that the U.S. is like that, if we can be critical of the depiction of the American life of the United States, we have to also be critical of depictions that are coming out from other countries, especially if it's coming from, like, Hollywood-style things, like Bollywood or the Hallyu wave, right? Of, like, the main exporting, like, the main power center of that entertainment. Like K-pop, for example, right? It's like K-pop seems so shiny and nice, but if you really dig into it, it's kind of a horrible industry that exploits their...
Poor people are also being controlled by...
Yes, exactly. It's extremely exploitive, right? Like, why would we think it isn't? Just because we love the culture and the aesthetics. And yes, there is a lot to love about it. And Korea has worked very hard to move away from the image of this poor, second-rate Japan, so to speak, right? To be this top-tier East Asian country. But at the same time... it's the image, right? So India, I'm certain, is doing that too. Like, I've heard critique on, like, it's not just Bollywood. It's not just dancing numbers and these beautiful, colorful things. Like, that is a facet of the culture, but there is more to it. And, of course, there's going to be corruption. Of course, there's going to be this. The country is huge. There's, like, 1 billion people there, conflicting religions, and a very complicated history rife with colonialism, right? Yeah. So he has this platform to challenge those sort of like preconceived notions of India to the Western audience, while also providing a story that his Indian audience can also really strongly relate to, especially, it seems, people who don't often see themselves represented in those Bollywood shiny movies. So I think that is pretty important and probably a big intent of his. So, yeah. And then with the John Wick thing, it's funny you say that, because I did like the first movie, even because, for me, because they showed so little of his character, it made me more interested of, like, what kind of man is, like, you kill the dog that his dead wife gave him, and then he goes ballistic. That made me more intrigued in the character. Even though, like, it's one of those, they don't fill in, they don't tell you his exact thing, and they don't build the relationship for you, but it's up to the audience to kind of fill in the blanks. So for me, I didn't mind that, personally. But with this one...
I know, most people didn't agree with me. I'm just like, I could, because I didn't know anything about him or his wife. Yeah. To me, there was absolutely...
It wasn't enough for you to get invested.
Yes, right? But again, it's because I think most people go to those just for the action, and I don't really like action movies, so I need a fucking buy-in. Right?
Yeah, I think you're right, because, like, the audience expectation is not to even have, like, any real motivation other than because the plot said so. So then the fact that they even got 10 minutes at all of, like, oh, this is sweet, and then, oh no, plus, like, Americans love dogs. So
yeah, Americans crazy about dogs.
Yeah,
I'm not saying I don't care if a dog gets killed. I'm just saying I personally didn't see the attachment, the emotional attachment to go insane.
It was like
either his wife or his dog.
Yeah, it was like an action movie with a surprise character moment, whereas this Monkey Man movie is like, it's a character movie that has a lot of action in it, sort of thing. Like, one is informing the other, whereas the other, it was kind of like a parody of those action movies. And then the world building was so interesting to me too, and John Wick, because I'm like, he just calls a guy, and the guy's like cleaning up the body, and he's not even batting an eye. Like, and then there's a hotel where the assassins go. Like, what is this world?
Like yeah, the world. Like, it's interesting. Like, there's different things, but again, like, I just don't care.
No, that's totally fine. Yeah, it's a different. I definitely think it's a different take on like sort of the action or the assassin or whatever movie. Yeah. But yeah. John Wick is not meant to be taken that seriously, whereas Monkey Man, I think, is supposed to be taken more seriously. Yes. So, yeah, I see. Okay. Interesting, yep. So how many stars would you give this, Monze?
I would give this movie 1 million stars. 10 stars. I'd give it so many stars. I think it's just really well done. I really like the story. I think the action is fun, although it is very violent. Yeah. Yeah. I see. And it does have a bit of, like, because his mother is telling him this, like, this myth, like, this religious story, like, he's definitely supposed to be, like, the Hanuman sort of character, right? Like, and so it is a bit sort of like a myth or a fable in that way. And so I also enjoy that aspect where I'm, like, trying to figure out, like, oh, where does this, based on that story, like, where does this fit, right? Again, it's just, it's so needlessly cerebral for me, but I'm just like, I need to put all these together. I just need to connect all these dots. So to me, that is fun. I enjoy that. I love me a good myth. So
I see. I'm curious if there's any, like, crossover or blend over or any relation to, like, the Monkey King myths of, like, East Asia, like Sun Wukong, like, for China and stuff, with this Indian white monkey myth. Because they're kind of similar, where it's, like, the monkey's, like, punished for some troublemaking thing or for going too above his station. Most,
like, mythos, the monkey is, like, a troublemaker of some kind,
so it's just interesting where it's like, oh, okay, like, cool. I cannot watch this movie. I will give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I like everything I've heard about it. I would read it if it was a book. I would watch it if it was animated. I would read it if it was a comic. I cannot watch it in its only form at the moment. I just can't. Wow. I can't do it. I'm unable to. Yes. Unless I don't know, something drastic happens to me and suddenly I've unlocked the ability to watch hyper-violent movies. I don't anticipate that happening. But yes, so I'll give it a 4 out of 5 because I do like everything I'm hearing about it. Cool. So Monze, where can they find us?
You can find us at We Don't Watch Movies Pod on Instagram. Woo. You can find me on Instagram at Magic Monster.
Yep. And you can find me on Instagram at Corinne is Korean. That's 1 C, 1 R, and 2 N's.
I will never tell you how to spell my name. Good luck.
Good luck. It's pretty, I feel like Magic Monster is easy to find. If you can't figure it out, you don't deserve to follow Monze.
That's right. You don't deserve me.
All right. Thanks for listening. As always, let us know if you've seen this movie or if there's a movie you'd like us to talk about that you think we maybe haven't watched. And we'll talk to you guys next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.